situated a little bit.
Yeah, you might want to, if you, I don't know if you have a place that you can. Sorry.
That's what I'm working on now, actually.
Yes.
Trying to get all the stuff out of the way. My house is a bit unorganized right now because I've got uh, donations everywhere, so everything is pretty hectic at the moment.
Yeah, well, that's not a terrible problem to have.
Yeah, I'm really happy though with some of the donations we have received, so it's definitely going to come into some use. All right, hopefully that should work as long as it don't tilt.
Beautiful. Yep. It's good. Sounds good.
No, I actually started Steve's Wings. We ended up changing the name, the legal name of it, from Steve's Wings to Steve's Wings for Humanity, because everybody locally kept confusing us for a restaurant. So
Wait,
that was
I want to hear like the whole thing, if that's okay. I know we just went live. If we could Jamie did tell me a little bit, but I want to hear it for myself from the beginning, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Jamie.
Absolutely. I'll try to put it in a nutshell because it's 3.5, 4 years worth of making. So I'm going to just try to put it in a nutshell. Let's see. My dad died. Well, he was technically my stepfather, but he raised me since I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I'm 40 now. But he had raised me since I was like 4 or 5 years old. Well, he ended up passing away January of 2020. Matter of fact, it was actually the same day that Kobe Bryant passed away.
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, it was very traumatic. I've dealt with death for a long time, but that was really what started my trauma for death. But I lost myself for a long time. Probably, well, 6 months, probably a long time, but I had lost myself. I was just kind of out in my mind stayed out in the space and everything. And I started going back to church the February after he died, February 23rd, 2020 to be exact. And I got to know my preacher and his family and stuff like that. Well, I really started trying to, really throw myself into it because it's all I had to hang on to. I was in a really dark place. And then I called my preacher's daughter-in-law one day after church, and I was sitting there talking to her, and I told her, I said, I feel like the Lord is really calling me to do something to help people. I said, but I don't know what it is. I said, I cannot figure it out. And the easiest advice anybody could have ever given me that I've known all my life, but she said it, when she said it, it just hit me. She told me, she said, pray about it. She said, wait on him to tell you what it is. Okay. So I prayed about it, and it was one of those things that I prayed about it and honestly kind of just left it alone and forgot about it. And then a few months later, I was sitting in my living room. I was reading my Bible, Revelations actually, because I was looking for a whole different scripture on something else, not even related. And I actually heard the voice of Jesus come and tell me to become a drug counselor, which is ironic because that's what my dad used to always tell me, is because I've been to school for all kinds of different things. And, I've been an EMT, I've worked as a CNA, I've also done, performing with wrestling and everything else. So it was not really the category I knew anything about. And so I I was a little shocked at first, ran into another room, told my husband about, what I just encountered. And he told me, he said, well, go ahead and do it. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't even know where to start. Okay, well, he told me, he said, well, go in there, get on the internet and try to get enrolled in school. Okay. I could not figure it out for nothing. I got on computer, couldn't figure out how to get enrolled at all. And so the next day I used my husband's truck, and I actually went to the school. And on my way there, I kind of just looked up a little bit, and I told God, I said, look, if this is what you want me to do, I said, you're going to have to walk me all the way through it. I said, because I don't have a clue of what I'm doing. Well, I told him to just put me where he wanted me. So I get right there by the school, and I get a flat tire. I'm like, okay, well, yay, this is great. So I ended up getting flat tire fixed, and then I ended up going into the school, and I told them, I said, I'm here to try to enroll for whatever classes I've got to have to do some kind of drug counselor. And they said, okay. So they sent me into this room with this other, with this school counselor. And she told me, she said, well, looks like you've already gotten your paperwork done. I'm like, no, I didn't get any paperwork done. I said, I couldn't figure it out. That's why I'm here. She said, no, ma'am. She said, your paperwork is done. She said, and I have your schedule right here. And I just looked at her like, what? And she said, yes, ma'am. And I was like, okay. I said, well, I need to go and fill out for financial aid. I said, because I don't have the money to pay for this. And she was like, well, according to this, your financial aid is done. And I just look at her, my mouth dropped open. I'm like, what? Everything was already laid out and fixed. They handed me my schedule, told me my financial aid would be coming in soon. They said, enjoy your semester. And I just look at them like, okay. It was one of those things you don't even know how to put into words because you're so shocked. And so I walked out and went about my business. And once I started school and everything, as a matter of fact, I think it was right after I started school. I got bored one night, which I tend to do a lot, but I got bored one night, and y'all please forgive me. My nose keeps itching like crazy, but right there on the tip. But I felt the need, a strong urge, more or less, to get on Facebook, and I felt like I needed to make like a Facebook page, and I wanted to give it a name. But the Facebook was intended to be a Facebook where somebody that suffered from addiction, or either somebody that had a family member that was in addiction, if they just had needed somebody to just come and talk to privately and not have to worry about, being judged or anything. So I created a Facebook called Steve's Wings. And I started trying to post up that I was trying to stay anonymous, just so that way people wouldn't say, oh, well, she knows me, so I don't want to talk because what if she goes and blabs or whatever. So I tried to keep everything anonymous. So it didn't work long that way, because then word started getting out. And word started getting out, and then me and a few of my friends, close friends actually, we started doing some community outreach, just going out here. We just, we would ride around, give out like little purple rocks with little scriptures and stuff on them. And we were, instead of just walking up and handing somebody a rock and saying, here you go, have a good day, we were actually walking up to them, and we were, giving them warm hugs, trying to talk to them, find out how their day was, just, show them that, hey, we care. Even though you don't know who we are, we care, and we're trying to be here. So then they started wanting to promote the name Steve's Wings. And so it just kind of progressed like that for a little while. And then next thing I know, it just, there's been so many deaths around here that I just, matter of fact, there's a rally up in DC every September. And I actually wanted to go to that rally, and it's for fentanyl. So I wanted to go to that rally, and I knew I wouldn't be able to. So I was like, well, why don't I try to do something like that myself? Because I can't go to that one, but we need it here as well. So I was like, well, I'm going to see. It was like 2 months until the first rally when we started actually working on planning it. So we tried to we ended up pulling off a really small rally. I sent word out, letting people know that, hey, we're going to be trying to put together an overdose awareness rally. Does anybody want to get involved, help out, volunteer, whatever? And so we ended up getting that pulled off. And then the way that one had worked out, it was small. The parking lot was almost empty. But we ended up doing it like that. And after the rally was over, everybody's like, we've got to start doing this again. I'm like, yeah, I agree. I feel like people were starting to coming out of the woodworks, to try to do this. And I'm like, I think I might be on to something here. So it's just, we've that's pretty much how everything has progressed. I mean, just I feel urges to do one thing, and once I would get something done, then it would obviously go along a little farther than what I thought it would. So I was like, well, okay, well, let's just keep going with this. So, sorry, my daughter's dog. But yeah, I mean, and then my husband, he ended up found out later on. I was so tied up with everything I was trying to do. I ended up finding out because I was raised up in a drug life. I and I even dealt a little bit with alcohol, a few pills, um, but luckily I stopped it before it got too bad. That's something most of my family don't really even know too much about, but most of my family, has been an addiction for many years. So I've pretty much seen every drug, known to man done. And then I found out after my dad died, I found out that my husband he had a pill addiction, and then his pain doctor had cut him out, and then he started sneaking around doing heroin. And I found that out in 2020. So I thought that there was a lot of flip flops back and forth, thinking, okay, well, he's going to get clean, he's going to stop, whatever. And he ended up going into it really hard. So then he's finally sober now, which he's been sober. Saturday will be 7 months. He's sober this time. He's on the Sublocade shot. Yes, I'm so proud of him. But then he had actually ended up relapsing. It was September of last year, if I'm not mistaken, which was a month after the rally. He ended up relapsing, and I knew something was going on with him. So I kept trying to get him to confess to me. Obviously, he wouldn't confess because he was ashamed. And then I finally called his doctor and got his drug test results and found out that way that, he was flying, in fact. But then December of last year, December 14th, which was my last day of college for my degree, I actually I had a sibling that overdosed, and I was getting ready to leave my house because my mom had called and let me know that my sibling had overdosed. So I was leaving my house to go check on them, and I was going to show my mom how to do CPR and Narcan administration and all that. And in that process of me leaving my house, excuse me, I actually rode next door to check on my son. And when I went to check on him, I ended up finding him, and he was deceased. So we actually, my husband, I actually had to come back home, which is next door. But I had to come back home to get my husband because I couldn't get into the house to get to my son. So I had to come and get my husband, run back over there. My husband actually had to bust a window in to get to my son for us to be able to find out that he had been deceased for several hours. And so I've told a lot of people he probably could have fought the addiction, but I truly believe that it was the inevitable for my husband to relapse anyway, because finding your child deceased and with the certain circumstances that was involved with my son's death, I really don't think my husband would have stayed sober after that anyway, if he would have never relapsed. So my husband ended up this this May, he went in to detox, and because he had pretty much buried himself into his addiction, um, when he went into detox, he ended up going into cardiac arrest from the detox, and from the withdrawals. And while he was in there, he ended up on life support for 3 or 4 days. So I had no idea of anything until he come off of life support. He actually had to call me and tell me that he had been on life support, and that's why I had not heard from him. So he come home, we got him started on the Sublocade shot, and then I've actually tried to start a foundation, which is what I consider to be another branch of Steve's Wings for Humanity. Um, I've started that, and it's called the Chris Schoonover Foundation. And what it does, which it ain't doing anything right now because we ain't got grant money yet, but what it's intended. Shh, Lily, can you come and get Kane? Thank you. But what it's intended, what the Chris Schoonover Foundation is intended to do is anybody, we have a lot of death around here, and most families that that live in low income housing or just struggle financially every day, there's a lot of families that don't have life insurance, and if they lose a loved one suddenly, that we see it all the time. GoFundMe pages go up trying to help pay for funeral costs or whatever. And I have been in that predicament several times to where we almost thought that we wasn't going to be able to have a funeral for our loved one because my family don't have life insurance. So what the Chris Schoonover Foundation is going to be for is it's going to be to help families, not just with overdose, but any family that loses a loved one suddenly, whether it's heart attack, car accident, overdose, whatever, as long as it's a sudden death, then we will come to step in, make sure everything is legit, that, we're not being ripped off or anything or whatever. And we'll actually pay for a cremation. And I don't actually like cremation, but like I tell people, I would much rather have my loved one cremated than their body gets sent off to the state and they never get any closure. So we've got the Chris Schoonover Foundation and the Steve Wings for Humanity organization, and they're both the same thing. They just, it's kind of a branch to each other, but they're both, up under the same tax stuff and everything else. So we are trying to do multiple events throughout the year now, but I mean it's a struggle. As soon as we get done with one event, then boom, we have to turn around and get ready for the next event, even though it's spread out through a few different months throughout the year. But the Chris Schoonover Foundation will be doing that. We have a charity ride that we're going to be doing every March for that, because that was when my son's birthday was, and that's to honor him and to help other families. And then the Steve's Wings for Humanity, like I said, we had changed the name of that from Steve's Wings to Steve's Wings for Humanity because Steve's Wings for Humanity, my dad, he had his struggles, but at the same time, it didn't matter if he was struggling with trying to feed himself or whatever. If somebody walked up to him or if he seen somebody that was struggling, I've seen him literally give a stranger the shirt off his own back in the cold. I mean, he just did not want to see anybody go without. And I wanted my dad to have a good legacy left behind. So that's why I created Steve's Wings for Humanity, because we're not just about addiction. I mean, that is our specialty, but we're trying to reach out to veterans, homeless, those in active addiction, anybody that needs anything, because we don't want to turn anybody away. Because if somebody comes to us and they need something, we don't want to say, well, we don't help you with that, but we'll send you to this person. We want to try to do it, even if we got to pair up with somebody. We still want to be able to help that person no matter what, not just send them somewhere else and say we can't help you with that because that's not our territory. So we have pretty much a lot of different things. That's kind of one reason it's taken so long to get our approval for our 501. It's because we have so many different things that we're offering, but we're just I've seen so many different bad things that can happen in somebody's life, whether it be drug problem or whatever. And I'm just trying to find a way. And I wish I could save the world, but I honestly just want to be able to help somebody because I've been there. I have seen homelessness, not ever from addiction or anything, but I've been homeless. I've lived up under bridges at 17 years old. I mean, my husband, one time he actually detoxed at home. And for people out there that don't know what detox is like and going through withdrawals, it's a nightmare. It is a straight out nightmare. And people don't realize that. They think that, oh, well, why don't you just, stop doing the drugs and everything will be okay? But you cannot just stop. I mean, and that's what I'm also trying to educate people on the stuff as well, because I've seen it firsthand, and it is sad. It really is sad. So anytime that I hear somebody has been able to kick an addiction, I ain't even gotten to know them, and I'm just like, oh my God, I want to throw them a party because
Mhm.
they should be praised. I mean, other than the Lord for helping them, but they should be praised because that's a big deal, and it should be treated like it's a big deal. I mean, I've seen it so much, and I get so many phone calls from so many different families all the time, that, hey, such and such passed away. Do you know what they died from? I'm like, no, but I mean, I'm always having to hear about death. And even if it's not my own family, I hear about death so much, and most of it is from substance abuse, overdose. And I'm
Mhm.
trying to find a way to at least slow it down. I wish I could stop it, but I don't see that happening. But yeah, it's quite a lot, and that's just in a nutshell.
And now,
But
Melissa, I went to the rally 2 years ago, right?
yeah, last year, the one last year.
And I mean, that was like pretty impactful because I just remember you had this big long banner with all of these people's pictures on it. And I was just mind blown, like looking at all of these people's pictures who had passed away from overdose. And it
And
was just heartbreaking.
yeah, and sadly, that is actually a small portion of what we have in our county. That is just, if it were up to me, I would have everybody that has passed away, not to exploit them, but to be able to honor them and to show other people that recovery is possible, but you can die from this.
Mhm.
And if it were up to me, I would have I would have all of them, because that was actually just a small portion. And every year we have to sadly get a new banner. And, a lot of people have actually asked me, well, why ain't such and such on it? I'm like, well, because their family chooses for them not to be on it. So I cannot go against their wishes, because I
Mhm.
do still have, legal terms I have to stand by. But yeah, and that was just a small portion of what you've seen. We've done added to this year's too, and several that I was actually very close friends with, and some were even family that were actually on it this year, sadly.
So, and so your son, now have you found out anything like about that?
I have my son had been out of prison for 5 days. There's some details I can't really go into.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what I have found out is that um he he wasn't an accidental overdose or fentanyl. He didn't actually take fentanyl and he died from it or something. He was actually killed. Um, he was actually purposely killed. So yeah, it was, sorry. We have two dogs in the house. So but yeah, he was actually purposely killed. Physically, my son actually fought for his life. So
Wow.
yeah, it was we do know that he was set up. That much I can say. That he was definitely set up and purposely killed. It wasn't one of those, and I don't go against anybody that says, my child was murdered by fentanyl. I get that, but at the same time, the difference is with my son is My son was literally set up and murdered on purpose with fentanyl. He didn't just, inject by, fentanyl and then it kill him. But yeah, that's actually the difference because I've had a lot of questions about that.
Right.
But it was we didn't have Christmas last year, needless to say, because I mean he died December 14th. And we actually sent my two younger daughters off to spend time with family, and me and my husband actually kind of just sat here in a daze for Christmas last year. So it was my husband's still suffering from that. We're also that's one thing that we are getting ready to try to start up. We were supposed to have it this past Saturday. We were supposed to have a group therapy for parents that have lost their children to overdose, but we ended up having to cancel due to some, circumstances. But that is another thing that we're getting ready to offer in Richmond County is we're going to be trying to offer parents. We're going to offer parents special. These ain't just group therapies where you sit around and talk about how you feel about something. We're actually wanting to create this group therapy to where we sit around, we do crafts, we get busy with our hands and focus on something. And while we're focusing on doing crafts and stuff, we get to talk about our feelings toward how we, obviously how we feel about losing our loved one or our child or something like that. Because to me, from what I've seen, I get more focused whenever I'm working on a craft or something. I get more focused and I can think clearly and I can open up more whenever I'm doing these hands-on crafts and such. And so that's why when we finally get our group therapy started for the parents, we're going to do other ones, but I want to focus on the parents for now. So that way we can all just know that we have a support group together. And we can also help with finding healthy ways to, cope with this issue, this hurt and pain and stuff. So we're working on a lot. We're probably overwhelmed, but we're working on a lot.
They do that in like domestic violence groups too. They have you do crafts while you're, you know what I mean, like different crafts in the group, and like journaling and stuff, like things to keep you so that when you're going through things, you kind of like stay, I feel like grounded maybe,
Yeah, and I actually had no idea of that either because I mean, when I was a teenager, I was actually in a very violent relationship, which luckily I ended up getting away from before I turned 18. But yeah, I had never known of that either because I've never really gotten into the group. I was always one of those growing up to where I always thought, oh, group therapy, no, that's not for me, kind of thing. And then once I started getting into what I'm doing now, I've started, over the past few years, I've started to see this whole big picture of things that I didn't never realize. And that's why it was so crazy because when the Lord, kind of let me know this was my path, I'm like, I don't know nothing about this. How am I going to help somebody? And now here it is. And I'm trying to put the stuff together myself. So it's a little weird, but, I'm getting the hang of it. But I love it though.
And tell us the area you're in again.
Rockingham, North Carolina.
Rockingham, that's right. So anybody out there in Rockingham, North Carolina that wants to collaborate with Melissa, what is your Facebook page called?
We actually, well, we have a group
What's
page.
your email?
Huh?
Your group page. Like, how can people contact you?
Oh yeah. Well, I'll also go ahead and give my number out as well. Because my number is actually the main line for Steve's Wings anyway.
Okay.
The Facebook page, I have a group page that is called Steve's Wings, the number 4, Humanity. And then we have the regular Facebook page, which is Steve's Wings. My email is, sorry, I'm having to think about it.
No, you're fine. I'm typing. I'm using that. So
my email, I'm honestly just used to hitting the box and just going into my email, so I don't type it in anymore. I believe it's Steve's Wings 7020 at yahoo.com. That sounds so bad. I don't even hardly know my own email. And my contact number is 910-417-8740. But I'm just about sure that's the right email. Steve's Wings, yeah, STEVESWINGS 7020 at yahoo.com. But we do have two different Facebook pages, but one of them I run and one of them is the group page, which my VP runs. So yeah, we definitely have plenty of ways to contact us. And if somebody wants to, contact me, contact Steve's Wings through Messenger, that's fine too. Because I'm constantly trying to keep a check on, incoming messages and stuff. So especially when we have events coming up.
Right. And your next event is well, besides the one you're having this week.
Yeah. The next rally, the next overdose awareness rally, I was actually just getting ready to bring that up too. It's going to be August 10th, which is always on a Saturday.
Mhm.
August 10th, 2024. And right now, if everything goes the way we want it to go, if we can get the funding and everything, of course, by then we'll be having it at the Cole Auditorium in Hamlet, North Carolina, which is
Nice.
basically the same county, but we're just trying to got a bigger space.
Right. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
growth for sure.
Yeah.
So look, Sonya, if you flew.
Yeah, progress, not perfection.
I'm gonna have to go down there and pick her up.
Yeah.
I do want to add, with our overdose awareness rallies, we started doing, we had what I call kind of a low grade candlelight vigil after the rally. But what we do, if anybody wants to get their loved one, we do have to have consent form signed if somebody chooses to have their loved one honored in the rally or the candlelight vigil. And that's just for legal purposes and all that. But what we actually started doing this year was I found a place, a company called Sandhills Knockerball. And the guy actually has a giant screen, looks like a drive-in movie screen. Not nearly as big, but it's big enough. It's the right size for us. But what we do is when we have the overdose awareness rallies, and then as soon as the rally is over, we change everything out like a scene in a play, on a theater play. We change everything out. We get all of our resources and everything moved out, and then we start getting everything set up real quick with the movie screen, and then we actually play a video that I actually do myself. But we play the video that shows all of our lost loved ones from even the first year of the rally all the way up until that that present rally. And we light candles, we say a prayer, we really try to, we give the moment of silence and stuff like that. So we really try to make we try to make these candlelight visuals very personal, because we try to show, we don't just, in the video that I make, we don't just show a picture and then go to the next person. We actually show the picture, we show who the person was, what their likes were, try to show that they were a human being.
Right.
And we really try to get personal with each one of them. And that's how we try to honor who they were, not just, oh, this person was an addict or whatever. We don't want them to be remembered that way. We're just trying to take a negative and turn it into a positive this way, and help the families grieve at the same time.
I love that.
So it's hard. It's a lot of hard work to do this, because this past year I had to pretty much pull it off by myself. But I spend all year working on this one event. Even though I work on other things, I spend the whole year working on this one event, because it's our biggest event of the year. But I have no regrets, that's for sure.
Well, I definitely love your heart for it, Melissa, and thank you for coming on here and telling everybody your very vulnerable story. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lot of death.
Yeah.
So
We've lost about 10, at least 10 that I know of off the top of my head over the past 4 years,
Mhm.
at least.
Well,
So
I just want to
it's
say that I think that it's really beautiful that you've taken all of this pain and turned it into something where you help so many people. I just think that's a really beautiful thing.
I try really hard, but like I said earlier, I wouldn't trade this, I wouldn't trade this for anything that I've ever done in my life. The stuff I wanted to do when I was growing up and everything. I mean, I do still ask the Lord, why did you choose me to do this out of everybody else? But I know that this is the path that I'm meant to do, and
Mhm.
I'm not going to stop because I feel so much. I don't do it for people tell me a lot, that sorry, I got to readjust right quick. People tell me a lot, well, you do all these good things, the Lord's going to bless you and this and that. That's all great to hear, but that's truly not why I do it. I actually do it because I know what it's like to truly struggle and be at rock bottom.
Mhm.
And I want to let people out there know that are on rock bottom that there's people out here that care and
Mhm.
willing to move mountains for a complete stranger, because I'm willing to. I mean, I hope, I'm sure other people, on my board members, that they're willing to. But I just want to. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. Sorry.
That's all right. It made it all the way to the end. It did good.
I know, right? But yeah, basically, I don't do it for blessings. I don't do it to, see what I'll get back in return. I just really want to help my community
Mhm.
and let people know that people out here still care. So
That's awesome.
awesome. Well, thank you for coming on. You guys, me and Sonya are hopping off to take a quick
Yep.
bathroom break, and we will be back in 15 minutes.
Yep.
thank you. Thank y'all for having me. And it's nice to meet you, sweetie.
It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, I need to get you hooked up with David Riggins, if you're listening. All right.
Good.
I'll have to send this to him. So awesome.
Absolutely.
All right. We're
All right. See y'all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.